I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, June the 17th, brought to you in part by Noromycin by Norbrook. Noromycin 300 LA is effective and economical, and it's your go-to antibiotic for pink eye and foot rot in cattle this summer. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Direct fed cattle hit $150 on Thursday. That's a milestone, guys. In fact, on Thursday, late this week, of course, prices were progressively higher throughout the week, but we saw the highest prices paid on fed cattle, calves, yearlings than we've seen in years. And of course, the board was supportive most of the week, but man, are we getting to some stratosphere type prices, and we knew we were going to get there, but we didn't think we were going to get there until this fall sometime. But in fact, are the cattle on feed numbers right that we've been getting for the past year or so? You know, my friend Lee Richmond put that out on Twitter and shared some texts with me on Thursday, and you look back over the 6-month stretch from August to January, your cattle on feed reports had cattle on feed numbers of 111, 102, almost every other month, and just 1 month of 99% of a year ago. Yet we've got the tightest supplies, market-ready supplies, and we've seen for a long time. Something's got to be amiss here. Now I realize now, here of late, just the last few weeks, we are running out of cows because your cow market has been so good, and our culling has been so deep, and we've had drought in major production areas, and we've just about cleaned all your beef cows up. Now the dairy cow herd doesn't change all that much, and that's part of it, but we're running out of beef cows, and now we're starting to see your cow plants that kill some fed cattle. They're digging into the fed cattle and taking a percentage of that, and in fact your fed cattle are making up a larger percentage of the weekly kill than normal, but not that much normal, and it just started happening. So something's got to be amiss with those cattle on feed numbers. Now I'll grant you that we didn't have a lot of places to turn cattle out this past fall. We didn't have much winter forage, so a higher percentage of those cattle did go on feed, and most of your pen space was full. But we didn't see this big hole in cattle. We thought there was a wall coming of cattle, of heavy market-ready cattle and heavy show lists. We are extremely current. In fact, we're very green on our show list, meaning that the cattle on the show list don't have as many days as typical in the northern plains. And then cattle that aren't even due on the show list, your packers are driving in there and wanting to buy those cattle and buying those cattle that aren't even due to hit the show list for another 30 days. I tell you what, we're in a good shape right here. And we're right in the time of the year where your packers are really trying to step up the kill, because they've got a lot of obligations to fill as far as shipping meat out for your summer holidays, as we're getting close to Father's Day this weekend, and then we'll be 4th of July here before long. But you know, just in general, your summer is a big time for grilling cuts, but you know, everything is so high and your gas has gotten so high. In fact, people may be eating more hot dogs than they are ribeyes, but demand is still very good, and we're getting through this inflation with good beef demand right now. But you know, your northern plains hit a top price of $150. I'm not saying all the cattle brought $150, but we did have regional come in there and bid and pay $150 in Iowa for finished fed cattle. In fact, your northern plains fed cattle markets this week stretched from 145 all the way up to 150, but we had majors paying 148 late in the week, which is pretty darn aggressive. But you know, a top price of 150, and it didn't have any Klingons to it, you know, no kickers on it or anything like that, or else they would have thrown it into the formula deals. But it showed and printed 150 on your direct fed cattle report on Thursday from Iowa. What about the southern plains? Well, they hit a top price this week on Thursday also, but it was 140. That's $10 a hundred We rarely ever see more than $2 or $3 spread from the southern plains to the northern plains in a direct fed cattle market. Now it's $10 on your top price, and it's likely going to be $7 or $8 on the weighted averages by the time we get them all put together. But you know, I'm telling you, it's because the northern plains sells more negotiated cattle. Nebraska sells about 33%, Iowa about 50%. They've got leverage in the trade, and then when the supplies get kind of tight and your packers get aggressive, I mean, they've got them, and they can negotiate for higher prices. You know, in Texas and Kansas, they don't sell enough negotiated cattle to amount to anything, and they're just scheduling all those formula cattle in. It's hard for them to negotiate a higher price. And do you think the big corporate guys in the Southern Plains are against that? No, they'd like to have a higher price because their sweetheart deals are based off that weighted average that the smaller lots are establishing for them, and it's $10 back or $7 or $8 back maybe on the weighted average. But let's say you're a backgrounder or a producer in Missouri somewhere, maybe Kentucky, or maybe out west somewhere, Nevada or Idaho or somewhere like that, and you're wanting to send cattle into your 5-area feeding region to finish them out, and you're wanting to retain ownership. Maybe you want to sell those cattle, and most any of those feedlots will partner with you if you want to keep half interest, and then you can get some information on how they perform in the feedlot. You can follow them on through and pay and get some extra information, carcass information, things like that. Well, which area are you going to send cattle to if you're going to retain ownership? You're going to send them to the southern plains, you're going to send them to the northern plains. Well, if the freight's not that much difference, I'll tell you where I'd send my cattle, somewhere where they're going to negotiate for a higher price. You know, $10 a hundred on finished fed cattle, that's $150 a head or more. You know, that can solve a lot of problems right there. That can make or break you depending on how many you've got. But just unbelievable, this huge spread and disparage that we have in there. We've got to get this Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act pushed through. We're expecting to see that. Also, the Special Investigators Bill, which you know, they're all right here, guys. We're going to see voting on them really quick. We're expecting either this coming week or the next to see that Cattle Price Discovery and the Special Investigators Bill be pulled up, marked up with the Ag Committee in the Senate, and then move on to voting. We've already seen the Special Investigators Bill get marked up in the House. It's due for voting. Now just scheduling on that. Then we're hoping that we can get the Cattle Price Discovery Bill marked up in the House Ag Committee and then go to vote in the House. That will probably hinge on how well it performs in the Senate. So we're looking at that. U.S. Cattlemen's Association is your main pushers of that, or basically your only big Cattlemen's Association that is pushing that. Of course, National Corporate Beef Association is fighting it tooth and nail. Texas Cattle Feeders Association is fighting it tooth and nail. Kansas Livestock Association is fighting it. How about your custom cattle feeders in Texas and Kansas? You think they're excited about staff and leadership in those two state associations fighting a bill that could make them have more ability to negotiate a higher price? And now they're going to be losing customers, paying customers that are paying for feed to be installed, you know, and that's what they really want to do. They don't want to have to own them all. You know, they like to charge yardage and feed other people's cattle. But how are they going to do that when everybody's going to want to feed in the northern plains because of this huge price spread? But we saw U.S. Cattlemen's Association have a fly-in this past week with leadership from United States Cattlemen's Association going into D.C., spending their own money, sitting down and visiting with lawmakers in Congress and in the Senate, and sitting down and having a visit with the Secretary of Agriculture. But we need to get this deal done, guys. And it's right here. It's not a pipe dream. It's here. We need to get it done. We've got a small window to get it done, so let's get it pushed through. How was you guys' week? Mine was fairly interesting. I got to go up to Ogallala, Nebraska, and give a presentation on the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act to the local affiliate there with Nebraska Cattlemen's Association. Had a great crowd, had a great discussion, had a good time. I drove up there on the western Kansas side, and I drove back on the eastern Colorado side. Drove over some of the roughest roads in the United States, and now I know why Steve Hilker and John Campbell are so crabby all the time, because they have to run those roads all the time. But when I'm back home in Texas, I get these big, wide, smooth, soft roads, and I really appreciate them after driving up through rural western Kansas and rural eastern Colorado. But you think you had a rough week? How about your Thursday? How was that? Well, I'm going to give you an idea of how stud horse Steve Stratford's Thursday was. So likely he sorted cattle and merchandised cattle all day Wednesday at Pratt Livestock, where he works there and works with the winter livestock team at Pratt location there. He was probably sorting cattle, which I know he would have been, and getting his customers, a lot of those that would have consigned to him, getting those cattle ready for the Thursday sale. And then Thursday probably got up early and went out there and checked on those cattle, made sure how they were looking, made sure the groups were looking good together. Probably had some late arrivals that he had to sort and get them ready to go. And then had to get on the phone and call his customers, because he's an order buyer also, and get the bids down to see which ones of his customers wanted to buy cattle there at Pratt on Thursday. He got all of his orders lined up, got into sale. It was a very, very active sale. Put loads of cattle together for his customers going ever which direction. They had some of the highest prices paid in Pratt at Winter Livestock on yearling feeder cattle that we've seen in years. I mean just unbelievably high, attractive prices there for those backgrounders and producers that sell at Pratt. So he got done with the sale, had to get all of his closeouts done and everything, and bill his customers and get his loads lined up, get trucks lined up to send those cattle. And then after all that, stud horse Steve Stratford had to get to a studio, a TV studio, so he could be on my favorite TV show, Tucker Carlson, on Fox News. We've had all this talk about these heat deaths and everything, and that was a story early in the week, just kind of within the industry. I mentioned it earlier in the week. Like we figured that the deaths added up to more head counts than what we thought, but then all of a sudden, with help, and it wasn't good help from social media and stuff like that, including one TikTok that was absolutely ridiculous, people had all these conspiracy theories about these cattle that perished in the extreme hot, humid, and no wind conditions in southwest Kansas there. So he got called to go on to Tucker Carlson and do that, and man, did he do an outstanding job representing all of us from cattle producers, cattle feeders, cattle marketers, just everybody. I mean, we could not have had Tucker Carlson pick a better representative for all of us. How often do we get an opportunity like that? Not only did he get on there, he was cowboy, he was cattleman, he was poised, he was well-spoken. It was a great representative for our industry, and we never get an opportunity to do something like that. Yeah, you get guys with cowboy hats on there, but they're sheriffs or something, or just somebody that's trying to dress up like one. But you had a real guy in there being well-spoken, poised, and a good representative of the industry. Not only did he stomp out the conspiracy theories of something happening that was akin to all those food processors that we've heard about catching on fire and having these different destruction things happening to it. They were trying to tie those things together. He squelched that immediately when the interview started, but he did it in a really smooth way that wasn't rough or rigid or anything, and then was able to transition the conversation with Tucker Carlson into some things that are really affecting us that we need change on. He touched on how your cattle producers are getting such a small piece of the retail beef dollar. He brought that out. And it was kind of eye-opening to Tucker there. He talked about truth and labeling. They visited about all these imports that were coming in from Brazil, and how we shouldn't be calling those product of the USA. He just did an outstanding job in the few moments that he had to speak for the industry, and why we don't have a man like that in a high position with some of these trade organizations. Likely he doesn't want to do it because it's too damn political, and he knows he's going to get swayed one way or the other, and everybody's scared to death of the Packers, so they always want to cater to them. And I mentioned them earlier, the ones that do. He doesn't want to do it, but that's the kind of guy we need doing stuff like that. There might be other guys that could do it, but I don't know any of them. But thank Steve Stratford. And I tell you what, he knocked it out of the park. Had several people texting me and just couldn't believe. Well, they could believe what a great job he did, but they were just acknowledging what a great job he did. And you see him shake his hand, tell him thanks, and we need him to do more of that kind of stuff. Just a great representative for commercial cattle business, cattle marketing, all that. His son's a champion bull rider. Steve's got a purebred Angus herd there that's progressive, and then marketing cattle in a commercial, competitive way and doing it right, and then speaking his mind. It was fantastic. But let's talk about your board on Thursday. June live cattle futures up 20, 137.75. Still going to be likely $8 or more behind your 5 area weighted average, even though it come up some this week, but we gained so much ground in the cash market, and here we are on the back side of the spot month. And like I've been telling you guys for the last couple of weeks, when we're seeing a spot live cattle futures contract trading at a discount to cash, it's just damn hard to get it up there. It's so hard to get it up there. We have to rely on speculators and traders to push it up there, because as an industry, we're on the downside of the market. Now, if we had the futures contract spot month trading at a premium to cash, well, then your cattle feeders would deliver on the board and suck it back down and get it lined up. I don't know how the hell we're going to get this thing lined up. But I told you guys that are day traders and things like that, it's going to get closer, and we're not going to lose ground in your fed cattle arena next week either, guys, because we are so short of market ready cattle. August live cattle down 50 cents at 136.30. Back months on live cattle down 60 to up 7. But your spot month just trying to scrape up there and could only gather 20 cents when the cash market gained $2 just late in the week, an extra $2. But feeder cattle contracts for August down 197 at 171.30. September down $1.87 at 173.22. Back months on feeder cattle down $1.25 to down $1.82. Your grains were higher, and why is that? Because we talk normally it's a weather market now as we're waiting on the crop to mature. And we've seen so many other things, the war in Ukraine and everything, affect your grains. But likely late in the week it was a weather market, and it's getting hot in the corn belt, and it's going to be dry likely for the next couple of weeks for the most part. But we've had plenty of moisture, and guys have been wanting hot temperatures to get those crops to respond. But it's just all about the guys in Chicago, and most of them don't know come here from Sikkim about fundamentals. But corn was up 14.25 cents off regular trading on Thursday at 7.88 1/4. Beans up 15.75, ending regular trading at 17.09 1/2. Kansas City hard red winter wheat up 15.25 at 11.48 1/2. Your fat cattle trade. For the late week sales compared to the late week sales a week ago, Northern Plains sold live sales $3 to $5 higher, dress sales $4 to $5 higher, and the Southern Plains gaining $2 more or $3 late in the week, $4 higher, but still that big wide spread. Colorado had confirmed sales on Thursday of 300 head, only 2,100 head confirmed for the week. All live sales at 145. Iowa, another 1,700 head on Thursday, almost 29,000 for the week, which is getting close to what they do. But I mean, the Packers were just scrambling looking for cattle that were heavy finished and weren't able to find very many. But live confirmed sales on Thursday in Iowa, 146 to 150. Wow. You know, you talk to a lot of cattle feeders about selling cattle at 150, and they say, well, hell, I've sold a lot of cattle at 150 dressed. But your dress market on Thursday in Iowa confirmed sales was 228 to 235. Wow. Nebraska, 2,500 head on Thursday, about 36,000 for the week. Live sales in Nebraska on Thursday, 145 to 148. Weighted average in Nebraska sitting almost 146, so it's a pretty good deal. How about Kansas? 6,000 head. This is the second week in a row they waited till late in the week to trade much at all in Kansas. Only 10,400 up through confirmed sales on Thursday. Likely had some late sales on Thursday, but they're going to do more business in the Southern Plains, guys. They've got fat cattle down there too. It just costs a lot to truck them. But 140 was the price, and that's quite a bit better than we'd seen all week. Not nearly as good as what they're getting in the Northern Plains. Texas, 1,200 head on Thursday, 6,000 for the week. All of Thursday's sales at 140 also. Box beef cutout values continue weak. Choice cuts on Thursday afternoon, 267.16 down $1.06. Selects down 30 cents at 245.38. Your slaughter, pretty decent, but not as good as the aggressive week we saw last week. But up through Thursday, 495,000, 8,000 less than last week, 14,000 more than the same week a year ago. We can have a pretty decent Saturday, and we can overtake last week if they do that. Actual slaughter information came back in for the week ending June the 4th, and had average steer carcass weights the same as the previous report at 882 pounds, and that's curious also when we know how green we are. Wait another week or two on that information and start seeing some of these cattle they weren't even expecting to put on the show list for another 30 days, and they're slaughtering them. These weights are going to plunge, I guarantee you. Talk about what else is going on. EverAg Insurance Services. They are agents all across the country that can help you with all your ag insurance needs. That includes your LRPs. They have licensed agents in 44 states all over the country. If you need some of those services, search for ever.ag. Talk about your feeder cattle market on Thursday, your real-time index on DV auction. Late in the day on Thursday at 162.67, up 51 cents, so gaining ground there. That's a pretty good quote for an 800-pound steer up through your middle 12 states there. Let's talk about your big sales. Pratt, which I mentioned earlier, 2,600 head there at Winter Livestock and Pratt. Feeder steers, they quoted them $5 to $10 higher. Your feeder steers in Pratt on Thursday were $15 to $20 a hundred cash higher than just 2 weeks before. I mean, it's unbelievable. And feeder heifers $3 to $4 higher. Look at this automated market report out of Pratt Livestock. This is all the cattle that went through there. 346 out of 7-weight steers averaged 758 with a weighted average price on all those 7-weight steers almost $182.50. Unbelievable. How about 870 head of 8-weight steers averaged $863 with a weighted average price on all the 8-weight steers of $178.45. 3 weeks before it was $163.24. That's how much ground we've made. It's unbelievable. 659 head of 9-weight steers in Pratt averaged $934 with a weighted average price on all those 9-weight steers of $169.83. Mitchell Livestock, Mitchell, South Dakota, 3,900 head after that monster barbecue sale they had just last week, and the market was steady to $4 higher on feeders. Stick out deal in Mitchell was 69 head, 893 pound steers, bring 171. It's not just in the center part of the country, selling them high on the outskirts too. How about Toppenish Livestock Commission? in Toppenish, Washington. 65 head, 888-pound feeder steers, bring $157.50. Valentine had a sale. Valentine, Nebraska, way up there in the Sandhills, Nebraska. Valentine Livestock. Here's a couple of top quotes from them. 88 head of the Carnell Shadbolt steers, weighed 668 at $215 a pound. Weighing 668, people. How about the Walters cattle in Valentine, Nebraska? 69 head of them, averaged 742 pounds at $190. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday, anywhere last week, and anywhere for the last several years was at Winter Livestock in Pratt. They had 11 pot loads of 8-weight steers that encompassed $180. Here's a section of them right here that I'm showing you, but they 11 pot loads of them ranged in weight, not the light eights, ranged in weight from 840 to 883. Now they were all black, had great condition. You can call them fancy. I don't like to call cattle that heavy fancy. I know what a fancy calf looks like, but a big yearling, they just got condition to go. But 840 to 883 pound pot loads of steers sell from 180 to 183.10. That's your feeder flash for Friday.